Downs Gaming and Hotel. We work extremely hard to make your experience here convenient, safe, and fun.
I love Batavia Downs Gaming.
We love it!
I love Batavia Downs Gaming.
We don't just like Batavia Downs Gaming, we love Batavia Downs Gaming.
Batavia Downs Gaming, Hotel, and Racetrack. We not only want you to like coming here, we want you to love coming here.
Folks, thank you for joining us on this Sunday afternoon for the show where it is not wrestling with your budget. It's not wrestling with your conscience. This is wrestling with emotion, and quite the wrestling jam-packed day we have here today. AEW Double or Nothing live from the Desert Diamond Arena in Phoenix, Arizona, as well as NXT Stand and Deliver going head-to-head. Both shows, we're here to wrestle with emotion, and this show is brought to you by the region's premier gaming destination, Batavia Downs. Whether it's a race, whether it's on the gaming floor, winning more, lots more, at 34 Rush, enjoying some great food and beverage, get to Batavia Downs, the region's premier gaming destination. And I'm joined by just a couple of our panel members today, but the big three, as you could say, your friend, my friend, our friend, Jake Micah, live from the other room of the establishment I'm in here in Chi-Town. And then, of course, our head of the table, Michael Partham. Boys, well, quite the wrestling day and head-to-head competition for once in this wrestling business where we don't see it a lot anymore.
It's going to be an exciting day, and last night was a fun night too. I'm sure we'll touch on it quick before we get into it, but Saturday night's main event was a fun event last night there, but Double or Nothing is always there's a lot of, I guess, All In is obviously the tentpole event at this point. It's the stadium they're trying to sell out and everything, but if we're talking about like the big ones beyond it, All Out or Double or Nothing is, I think, makes the biggest case to be the number two here. And I would honestly, Double or Nothing, it's their first pay-per-view it's that they ever had. 6 years now since AEW's first pay-per-view, which is wild to think, but very excited. The card tonight looks very strong, and honestly a lot of implications going forward, as this feels like their Double or Nothing now kind of feels partly like the Royal Rumble almost, like because the way the Owens set up, it's basically pointing to the sign to All In once at the end of it anyways too. So it's an interesting time tonight. What are you expecting?
Yeah, pretty much. I think there's a lot of matches here that I would say are a little more predictable than not, but I think we all know the road to All In. It's just a matter of how we get there. There's still some rumblings about, and we'll get, of course, to the main event, which is going to be the big story going into All In. But with a certain mountain climber descending from the heavens back to civilization, I read a report. I know the dirt sheets. Let's not trust them 100% of the time. But supposedly they didn't rule out Darby Allin being at Double or Nothing, whether or not he makes his presence felt, goes out there for a run-in or gets involved in anarchy in the arena or whatever. If he's not ruled out of Double or Nothing, then he certainly can't be ruled out of All In. And I still have this sneaking suspicion, as much as the men's tournament final is set and one winner is going to come out of that. I have a bad feeling about it. I don't know if it's a bad thing necessarily, depending on your view of wrestling booking, but something about, the timing of Darby Allin's descent from Mount Everest. It's still possible to me that he might be factored into the main event of All In, whether it's a singles match, a triple threat, or something like that. I don't know. It's something to watch for going forward, especially starting tonight. But as far as the competition goes, you got Battleground starting at 7:30, and the pre-show for Double or Nothing officially starts at 6:30, but they've only got one pre-show match, and you have to think that's around the 7:30 to 8 block. So it's pretty much head-to-head the whole way. And NXT Battleground, there's no slouches there. Let's see. I'll comment on it a little bit more when I get the match lineup here, because I'm
my mistake. I did say Stand and Deliver NXT Battleground tonight, and I believe that's headlined by Joe Hendry and Trick Williams, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't know if Obafemi's title defense is headlining that. Let me see.
Okay.
I believe it's Trick. I thought it was Trick and Joe Hendry as well, but who knows? Yeah, they could probably go a number of different directions here, honestly.
Indeed, they could. Shout out Jax Perino on Instagram saying, "What the hell?" Yeah, man, what the hell? A lot of wrestling today. I know it's unprecedented.
Wow. So so NXT, we got Stephanie Vaquero and Jordan Grace for the NXT Women's Championship. That could
Like,
go
that
my
could
way.
be-
Booker T is going to be losing his mind.
I mean, Stephanie Vaquero is all but ready for the main roster. Julia didn't really spend too much time in NXT after her title run, and she's now gotten called up to the main roster.
The way they're
we do-
presenting Julia is amazing thus far.
Yeah.
Joe Hendry versus Trick Williams is indeed for the TNA Championship. First time that TNA Championship has been defended on a WWE branded pay-per-view. We got the grudge match within the D'Angelo family, Tony D'Angelo and Stax going one-on-one. Let's see what else. We got the Culling is involved in a 6-man tag match with Hank and Tank and Josh Briggs. And of course, Obafem is defending against Miles Bourne. Otherwise known as Randy Orton Jr., otherwise known as who's he dating again? Stephanie Vaquero?
Is he?
I think she is. Yes.
Good for him.
That's the one.
They're
okay.
together.
Yeah, good for him. A lot of young talent really tearing it up in NXT. Like to see that, and especially competition wise, I think there are going to be some people that will be tuning into NXT Battleground as opposed to AEW Double or Nothing. But that doesn't mean we are short of good content on both sides of the spectrum here. So without any further ado, just kidding. We got surprise train wreck trivia.
Batavia Downs. More, lots more.
Had to do it to him. In the words of Captain Ferdinand, somebody got to do it. Okay, folks. The last time wrestling was at the Diamond Desert Arena in Glendale, Arizona. I'm sorry, not Phoenix. I'm making all the mistakes today. Was November 25th, 2024. It was a Monday Night Raw. Diamond Desert Arena, Glendale, Arizona. What was the main event?
Wow.
Not too long ago.
November 20th. Yeah, so it's not even a year ago. Parthy, do you have a guess? I'm guessing Jay was involved.
What was that?
I don't know. I mean, Raw main events are very
It could be a women's match, so it could be Rhea.
Okay, it was a women's match.
All right, so I'm guessing Rhea Ripley is involved. Well, maybe Rhea's hurt here. I don't know. Partham, do you have any guess?
A women's match last November.
There was something at play if you won.
Was it a title?
No, not a title. There was a title holder, but no title on the line. But there was stipulation for the winner.
I don't know. I mean, all the Raws blend together at this point. I'm drawing a blank.
Was it Liv and Rhea?
No, it was not.
No.
I'm just going to go ahead and give it to you. It was Bianca Belair defeating Nia Jax to earn the order of entry advantage in the War Games match.
Oh, okay.
Survivor Series. Like I said, totally out of left field. Didn't expect you guys to get that. I think that was a bit tricky. But should we get into predictions at that?
Let's just go right into it. We got a lot to get
to.
Let's do it. One pre-show match, I believe, and that is Megan Bayne, Penelope Ford versus Anna Jay and Harley Cameron. What are we calling this tag team, Anna Jay and Harley Cameron? Because I know there's a lot of things you could speculate, including like what they've alluded to. But
I think
do we call it like the whole package or something? Like I feel like that's appropriate.
We could call them a certain acronym, but I think there's already promotion that's gotten that by about 20 years. So, I'm sure if Tony Storm was involved, she could come up with some pseudonym or
Tony would. Yeah,
I'm sure she could think of something if she put her mind.
Double entendre.
Yeah, we need her on commentary for just like all women's matches at this point. I'll kick us off. I think Anna and Harley, they're trying to do something here, clearly. They're giving them backstage promos. They've had them paired longer than they do a lot of women in this AEW division when they try to get something going tag-wise. The only thing that kind of sketched me out, Megan Bayne, Penelope Ford, Penelope's kind of been doing her dirty work, trying to get Megan to the top, even though she was just in a title match recently. So kind of lost path for Megan Bayne here. So I think Anna and Harley are going to get one up as the big babyface duo that kind of just came together, and everyone likes for their character as well as certain other reasons that they allude to on TV. Jake, what do you got?
I'm going opposite of you. I'm going with Megan Bayne. I'm not even Penelope Ford, yes, in this match, but this is just keep Megan Bayne strong, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm pretty much of the same opinion. Anna and Harley, of course, are getting over not only individually, but together as well. And Harley's infinitely talented. It seems like every week she's got a new skill coming out. But they're trying to get Megan Bayne over as the Brock Lesnar of the women's division, even though they keep seemingly shunting her onto Collision and rushed her title match against Toni Storm and just got that out of the way seemingly. But it looks like they're trying to build her back up. However good they're doing it, that they're going to give Megan Bayne a pretty dominant looking win over Anna and Harley.
Okay, yeah, maybe. Wow.
Honestly, I would pick Megan Bayne if it was a 1-on-2 situation.
Wow. Okay. See, I feel like you can still make Megan Bayne look strong without like somehow Anna and Harley getting like a silly little pre-show win. But that's why this show is so great. We all have different looks on these, and you never know what's going to happen. We could all be wrong. Shout out Moelly68 on Instagram. Go Bills. Go Bills, Moelly.
Bills.
It is, but it's getting to that time. The people are out filming for the Hallmark movie. But we're here to wrestle with emotion. So as we go on, a lot of great matches. Some I didn't even know these stipulations, including this one. Mark Briscoe versus Ricochet in a stretcher match. Hey, when was the last time we've seen like a really good stretcher match on wrestling programming?
It's been a long time, and it's the first one in AEW history here. So
wow,
nice ode to Sabu, I believe, is what we're going for here with Mark Briscoe and Ricochet.
I'll tell you what, Mark Briscoe is the guy to do an ode to Sabu because they are cut from the same very cloth.
These two are both sickos, so I'm excited to see like what they put together for this match. Partham, you start. What are your prediction here for tonight?
Predictions?
It's gonna be crazy as shit.
I think obviously they're trying to get Ricochet over as one of the big heels, at least an annoying one that people love to hate. And Mark Briscoe, much as we love him, seems to be how do I say this? I would not call him a jobber, but he seems to be the one out there, taking L's for the guys that they're actually trying to get over instead of trying to
who he is
popular.
You know who he is? He's like 2014 to 2017 Dolph Ziggler in WWE. Like very tippy top upper mid Carter who just isn't gonna win like the big match except like maybe 1 or 2 times just to like make you think again. And that's fine.
Thinking Triple H, real creative.
Well, Dolph's doing all right in TNA, and he can jaunt on over to WWE.
He's basically still signed under Hunter at this point.
Ancillary, more or less.
So,
but yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Partham.
No, I'm picking Ricochet.
Jake?
I've loved Ricochet and all the work that he's been able to do with this character so far, and this is a perfect foil for this quick program after he fought, Zach Gowen and just the despicable nature of Ricochet fighting a one-legged man and stealing his leg and everything that came with it. Mark Briscoe coming out for the save was awesome. These two are, you brought up creative. These two are creative motherfuckers to do some violent shit to each other. So I'm expecting some chaos out of this, and I'm also picking Ricochet.
Yeah, I am also going to pick Ricochet. I love Mark Briscoe. I will watch him anytime he wrestles. Just something about him, man. Just a different energy, and the way he wrestles, really a fan. Gives like that grimy kind of indie deathmatch feel to everything, even when it not necessarily is. And if this is an ode to Sabu, which it seems like that seems to be what they're going for, and as well as Jay Briscoe at that rate, if you're doing a match like this, we're in for something special for sure. And Ricochet being allowed to do opportunities like this, we would never see Ricochet doing a match like this ever in the WWE if he was still around.
Yeah.
So really excited. I'm also going to pick Ricochet, though. The momentum's just too good. And like Partham said, he's not a jobber, but he is a guy that you can still keep looking strong with guys going over him constantly. Speaking of going over, guys that are not necessarily over right now, led by a little bald man, Stokely Hathaway, FTR facing Daniel Garcia and Nigel McGuinness. Did we see this tag coming? I certainly didn't. Quite the interesting dynamic here. Jake, what are your thoughts? I know you watched Nigel back in ROH, and FTR, one of the best tag teams in the US, probably.
This is a really interesting match to see how they go with it. I think the results itself for me is I think FTR is going to win this match. The question for me is more how despicable does FTR get in the post match, because I think this turns into a beatdown of Danny and Nigel, and maybe Danny survives the worst of the fate, but I unfortunately think that Nigel McGuinness is going to suffer a wrestling write-off for the ages on the hands of FTR tonight. I think that their motif has been to take out the legends. They're running the Randy Orton legend killer gimmick right now. Took out the Rock and Roll Express a couple weeks ago. They've been targeting guys. I think taking out Nigel tonight on pay-per-view feels like a big move for FTR to do. So that's my pick, and I also think they win the match.
Yeah, it's a little ironic that Nigel's former potential protege is now who he's not Nigel's former protege, Bryan Danielson's former potential protege that he was trying to coach along, and now one of his great rivals that was trying, always goading him on commentary is now teaming with DG against FTR. But yeah, they're trying to get FTR over as a little more dastardly than they've been in the past. I expect FTR to go over here. What I also expect is certain Radar superstars that have been absent because of FTR to make his presence known, leading into a potential match at All In with a certain former partner of his. However, that turn's going to go.
Wow. Okay. So some surprises in store potentially. Does that so where would that go then from there, Partham? You think they're going to continue Cope into the FTR and potentially Danny joins along with him?
No, Christian.
But
they really haven't. I mean, Christian's been, needling Nick Wayne and, giving him some tough love, but we really haven't seen any kind of, there's definitely tension there, but we don't necessarily know when it's going to blow up or how it is. But somehow they're going to finagle a way to get Christian and Edge on the same page fighting FTR.
Could Nick Wayne join up with the FTR in some way? Maybe that's how he turned. He attacks.
I don't see him being part of the match. I think they want to keep it a traditional.
I don't mean the match. I mean like actually joining up. Like he jumps factions. Listens to FTR. They start recruiting him, getting in his ear, and that's kind of the impetus for why Christian would have.
Maybe as a group, sure. I don't think he'd be involved in the All In match, but maybe he could join up with them, and that would be the impetus for Christian and Edge to get on the same page. Sure, I could see that.
Yeah.
I'm going to go FTR too. It's a shame because Danny keeps seemingly getting the short end of the stick here in AEW, and it's off. I get that, like Nigel, this is probably a wrestling write-off, as you said, Jake. I didn't really even expect him to wrestle again after All In, that surprise appearance. But yeah, I think FTR are going to – Nigel's probably going to take the pin, and they're going to incapacitate Danny prior. And that beatdown will continue on Nigel, and it's not going to be pretty. I really hope we hear that altar bridge too, because that would make this a hell of a lot better for the Rated R superstar to come back and save the day here, because it kind of feels like directionless right now with FTR until Cope comes back. One thing that doesn't feel directionless, guys, 3 words. We hurt people. The Hurt Syndicate, Bobby Lashley, Shelton Benjamin, AEW Tag Team Championship, taking on the Sons of Texas. I mean, what the fuck? Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara. I want to start real quick because when Dustin Rhodes came out and is trying to cut such like a serious promo, like, we hurt people too. Like, you guys are in for a treat. And then Sammy's just behind him, like, smiling, like, yeah, you tell him, Dustin. Like, yeah. Like, this is just so dumb. Pairing these two together should have been so temporary. And trying to fill in a spot here, you shouldn't have even given them the promo time. I mean, do that shit on Collision. when MJF didn't just sign a contract into the Hurt Syndicate. I get you're trying to get the eyes like right onto the immediate first match that this all entails. But obviously Hurt Syndicate's winning this. And MJF is going to prove why they either hate him or love him, maybe a little bit of both. Partham, what do you think?
Yeah, I think MJF's going to get involved in this match. I don't know if it's going to be at the impetus of MVP or any of the other Hurt Syndicate. It's just what he does to, help his guys out. Might cause a little tension because Bobby Lashley would be like, hey, what are you doing, man? We got this. We know how to hurt people. We haven't needed your help before retaining tag team titles. But yeah, it was the contract signing was a bit of a letdown. We talked about it in our private chat where we expected something to, happen or some kind of stipulation to be added last second to the contract that would, where MVP or Bobby would say, hey, you still have to do this in order to sign the contract. But as it is, MJF just joined and now they're together and looks, they're definitely good over the Sons of Texas, Dustin and Sammy. I don't know if we could see a Sammy turn on Dustin situation and lead them to an all-in match, but I don't know if we've seen that sort of build up until this point. I mean, they're
tag champs.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Who watches ROH these days? But yeah,
it would just be stupid to have him turn while they still have belts on him. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah, maybe after the match, I could see that happening. But one way or the other. Oh yeah, they'll still have their own Ring of Honor belts.
I know.
Yeah,
I'm saying
that complicates things a little bit. Yeah,
a little bit. Yeah.
Okay, good point. So Hurt Syndicate's going over. What do you think, Jake?
They're going to hurt them.
They are going to hurt them. Absolutely. It's not. This match is not. It's a nice ode. Tony Khan thinks it's a nice ode, at least, to have Dustin and Sammy on there. Sammy was the first match of the first Double or Nothing, a loss to Kip Sabian. Hilariously enough, and obviously the first Double or Nothing was the famous Cody Dustin match. So it's just like, oh, let's have these AEW originals on the match. They're a tag team together. But it's not worth putting on this pay-per-view, and I hope it's very quick, and I hope the Hurts just put a hurt on them. It'd be great if they'd made this just give the Hurts the ROH titles, and have them walk around with more belts. Because you said, who cares about the ROH titles? So I'd rather just see the Hurts just defending both, or just combine them, or who cares at this point? But
that would be pretty cool.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah. All across the board on the Hurt Syndicate, because they are a team that just hurts people. A team that I didn't really even know was a team, or at least have this name, the Paragon.
Yes.
Is this new?
Yes. Last couple.
Yeah, they kind of finagled it in there. I think there was rumored that they trademarked it and tried to allude to it before, but they just kept themselves as the Undisputed Kingdom or something. But now that Adam Cole's back and they're all back together, it's just okay. We're the Paragon now.
All right. Well, the Paragon tonight are wrestling the Don Callis family, which is never a good sign for you. Konosuke Takeshita, Kyle Fletcher, Josh Alexander, Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, and Roderick Strong. Feels like a black and gold fever dream match right here. I'll kick it to you, Partham, first.
Yeah, I don't know too much about this going into this match, this feud. But, I mean, Adam Cole's the TNT champion, last we heard. I don't know if he's had any TNT title defenses lately. But the Don Callis family is basically heel cannon fodder. I think given the choice, I think they prefer to have the Paragon go over. So I'll say Adam Cole and the boys.
I'm actually going to go the other way. I think that they're going to get. It's been an opportunity for it's an opportunity for Takeshita and Fletcher and Alexander to get some wins back. They did lose that big match as a tag team to Ospreay and Hangman a couple weeks ago. So I'm just thinking. I think as a unit, I'm just going to lean towards the heels, but I think this is a true 50-50 match. I think you could go either way with this, and I do think this will be a very black and gold PWG era filled match with a lot of crazy, chaotic, athletic spots, especially this we've seen what the Paragon, Undisputed, whatever you want to call this team can do in 6-man matches, and they're very fun. But this group, Takeshita, Fletcher, and Alexander as a trio, I think this is not the first time we've seen them, but the first time on pay-per-view that they're together. I'm very excited to see what they look like, because those are three incredible wrestlers who have been really fun in all the other combinations between the three of them. So seeing all three of them together, I'm very excited about. So I'm going to pick Callis family.
Yeah, it's tough for me too. Obviously Adam Cole does have the TNT title, but I feel like this is a spot that can enable you to have his team lose, not make it his fault. Championship gets protected. And as Jake was just saying, this team of three is insanity when you break it down. Konosuke Takeshita, Kyle Fletcher, as if that team wasn't already crazy enough. You add in a maniac like Josh Alexander. When our maniac isn't here, we sub another one in, and he's wrestling tonight, I guess. These guys are nuts. This is going to be really violent on the Don Callis family side of things. Also, great match. Obviously, we know what Cole, Riley, and Strong are capable of from those black and gold days in matches just like this. It's kind of why I alluded to it. But I'm going to go with the Don Callis family as well, to the points Jake kind of said. They did just lose a tag match recently with Josh Alexander and who was he teaming with? Kyle? Was it Kyle Fletcher?
With Takeshita.
Takeshita, I'm sorry, yeah. And then you bring in the Kyle Fletcher too, who's been getting pushed to the moon. I don't see the three of these guys teamed up losing together. So I'm going to go with the Don Callis family, as much as it pains me. Don Callis, worst entrance Tron in all of wrestling.
No, see, but that's intentional.
Yeah, no, I know. It's just pretty funny. Looks like we lost Jake temporarily. I will give it a second or two.
Hey, Jake, get your butt in the Slick's room.
Yeah, we'll have to stay apprised here, see what's going on. I'll take a second to shout out our Instagram comments. Baddest production father with the Bandits colored hearts. I'd be remiss if I didn't shout out our three-peating Buffalo Bandit champions. Now that is too sweet. Shout out to them. Obviously hosted us for a wrestling night during the season. So that's awesome. They're getting in the vibe. We have another year of championship caliber lacrosse team here in Buffalo. Shout out to the Buffalo Bandits. That's
Buffalo
a three.
what?
Buffalo what? Oh man. I mean, like, that's just that is another example of like wrestling is life. Life is wrestling. That guy, they had to get all these themes for the Bandits. The production of Bandits games is very much like being at a wrestling show in some capacity.
Yeah, it's almost like let's bring that match up. It's almost like a certain match that also plays music while the action goes on.
Ah, yes, very good transition. That's why we have the head of the table with us at all times. They couldn't even fit the words "anarchy" in the arena in this banner because of team members: Kenny Omega, Swerve Strickland, Samoa Joe, Powerhouse Hobbs, Katsuyori Shibata, and Willow Nightingale take on John Moxley, Claudio Castagnoli, Wheeler Yuta, Matt Jackson, Nick Jackson, and Marina Shafir, just as Jake gets back into the swing of things. Jake, we're just talking about matches where they can just play the music as the match goes on, kind of like a Bandits game, like our three-peating champions. So not only who wins this match, what happens wild shit-wise, what music stays playing while the anarchy begins.
Okay.
I was just about to ask.
I think, all right, so I'll lead that off. I think we're getting Swerve, the music playing, because I feel like he's going to be the last entrant for the babyface team. We'll get the Death Riders all coming out and the Young Bucks first, and that. So maybe it's Kenny gets the last one. I'm leaning Swerve with that though. This match, Partham, we were talking about a certain guy earlier returning, maybe to go back to the main event, and I wonder what his character motivations are. Would they be to go be interested in the world title after climbing that mountain, or is he coming back to fuck around with the Death Riders? Because if his anger is because they took him out, right? Like we're talking about Darby Allin here. They took him out officially on TV, threw him down the stairs, beat him up, and then he went and got to climb the mountain. So if he is ready to come back, and to have a report like that on a pay-per-view weekend, whether you wanted to believe dirt sheets or not, it's not nothing, but it's not something, but it's not nothing either. So we have to keep our eyes open. I feel like this is the chance for either Darby or a returning Eddie Kingston to make his appearance known. We have both those, out in the ether for the babyface side. Gabe Kidd's not in this match, but has been on TV the last 2 weeks. So we know Gabe Kidd's showing up in here. So there is like even beyond the 6-on-6 and having Willow and Marina in this match, and they've already teased that they're not afraid to have the men and women like have some battles back and forth with these groups. You know, John Moxley hitting Willow with a I guess it's called a Death Rider. That's so stupid. And the like earlier, I think Swerve hit Marina with the house call and that sit too. So this will be a fun match. It's going to be a lot of chaos. I'm sure that they saved a lot of the really violent stuff. They did a big tease on Dynamite, but a lot of violence in this match. Maybe Eddie Kingston shows up with the gas can again. Who knows? Like this shit brings out some of the best moments in AEW history. For a pick, I think I'm going with the Death Riders and the EVPs.
Oh shit!
Eddie Kingston with the gas can. I have heard, as they say, rumblings, rumors, hearsay, if you will, hearsay, as Danhausen might say. But yeah, Eddie Kingston has some beef with Gabe Kidd, and of course the Young Bucks, as That's right. Going back all those months ago to how he got injured and who was involved in that. Darby, yeah, he wants to get involved with the Death Riders. He wants to get involved, try to get the world title off of Moxley. He wants all the smoke, as the Street Profits might say. But there's even more X factors out in the ether. I've been calling for I was calling for it for the main event a couple weeks ago, and I might as well call for it again. A certain former scapegoat. I don't know if he's still a scapegoat, but he's still Jack Perry as far as I know, and a former Ops member who got kind of screwed out of his opportunity to be a trios champion. Does he resent that a little bit? Is he going to show up and, sucker us in one way and then go another? I think Hook might send Hook tonight in this pay-per-view, but we don't know who he's being sent by or for. But yeah, we got a whole lot of possible people that could plausibly make their presence known in this match. And of course, by the very name, it's anarchy. There's no rules. It could happen anywhere. So anybody can really get involved, even if they're not technically part of the match. They can't be involved in the decision. They're still going to, have their sides to pick. But overall, I would say they're going to want to give the heels the momentum going into All In. So I would say the Death Riders. I say, you know how these guys are. They're going to want to top everything that they did last year. And if that last year involved fire, I think they're going to try and involve fire in another way. Maybe Eddie Kingston does show up with a gas can and he actually gets to light someone or something on fire this time around.
Aren't we just such sick, twisted individuals? Where Jake is celebrating at the fact that like someone might get lit on fire tonight.
Partham, who was your pick? You picked the Death Riders?
Yeah, Death Riders.
Okay.
I'm gonna stay boring and do the same. I think we're stuck in the warp, the black hole that is the Death Riders right now in AEW, but still looking forward to this match. I think there's going to be some interesting internal things throughout the match here. Obviously, Matt and Nick Jackson, Kenny Omega, there's going to be some cool moments. Swerve, like, does Hangman come around? Even though Will Ospreay just called him out about being too focused on Swerve all the time, does that like kind of get in his head and he still try to implement it even though he has the main event match probably a couple after? A lot of confusing things there. Go ahead.
You know what?
Well,
go ahead.
Go ahead, Partham.
I could see with however, many places this match could end up being. I could see like Swerve fighting the Young Bucks to the back and then just coming across Hangman, and then Hangman gets in the line of fire. And, obviously Swerve needs to keep his attention focused on the match. And Hangman almost has like, for a second he wants to fight Swerve for not just for past reasons, but for, what are you doing getting involved, coming around here, trying to screw me up inadvertently when I got a match later on to focus on. But I don't know. Yeah, I don't see Hangman going out of his way to get involved, but I could see him ending up being involved somehow.
I was wondering if Hangman would have an interaction during the show with a Swerve or a Kenny Omega, like leading up, like before both of their matches where they run into each other backstage, and it would be a tense encounter with either of them, right? Like there's unresolved things between both of them, but ultimately it ends up where Hangman's a little tense and the other guy is like, gives him a pep talk to beat Ospreay. Like they're like nicely are like, bro, this is your, like in some way, like, it's your time. You're this good. Go fucking do it. Like, and Swerve could say that in one way. Kenny could say that in one way, where it's not like we're boys, but like a mutual respect. Like, listen, we both know we've both fixed Will. You've never have. Like, we both know how good he is. You're just as good. Go do it. I'm hoping we get some sort of little interaction towards that, whether it be Swerve or Kenny with Hangman. It would be a good like morale boost for the character, you would think, heading into the match after the way we saw him Wednesday and Thursday night in that promo package on Collision 2 even.
I could like to see that, but let's keep in mind AEW is usually pretty fast paced with these pay-per-views, especially
Absolutely.
when they're jam-packed with matches. They usually don't have like a backstage cut scenes like WWE can do from time to time on their PLEs.
For sure. How many matches do we have total tonight? 8 on the main card?
10
or
including
9?
the pre-show, 9 main show.
9
But
on
of
the main
course,
card.
Anarchy is probably going to go at least 40 minutes, 50 minutes,
Yeah,
up to an hour.
Over under is
I
definitely
think
like right at 40.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, we were saying on our pre-show before this show, Anarchy's probably the reason that it's only 10 shows on the main show, because Anarchy's going to go so long. It's going to make up. It's essentially going to be a 12 match long show, but they're just putting 3 matches worth of conflict into one big match.
Yeah, for sure.
Indeed. There will be a lot of conflict in this match, so I'm officially going to stick on the Death Riders. I also think Eddie Kingston returns. I actually don't know what music keeps playing. I want to say like Wild Thing.
Oh, you know what?
Wild Thing would be cool, but they don't even play it. So
weren't they playing the Sum 41 song? The main.
Yeah, they were. They were
out there when they were.
You wanted war. Yeah. So honestly, that's probably the safe bet.
Yeah, but how does it get turned off? Someone's got to fight up into like the sound board area.
Moxley will finally take over the control panels.
He's known to do that once or twice.
Yeah, well, not very confidently and not very effectively. But
yeah. Well, he ended Rampage.
One person that is effective, Kazuchika Okada, the Continental Champion, good at saying bitch. And this guy that he's going against, really good at throwing hands and quick kicks, Speedball. Mike Bailey, kind of a quick up and coming in AEW, and been received well thus far in this quick up and coming right to the top of the card. Continental Championship on the line. Feels like a match that kind of just pushed, getting overshadowed by some others, but a good match nonetheless. Jake, what do you think is going to happen and who's going to win?
I'll keep this short and sweet. I love Speedball Mike Bailey, one of my favorite wrestlers going in the world. He's incredible, but this is just an opportunity to spotlight him, put him up against the guy, but Okada's not losing heading into All In, so I'm going with Okada.
Yeah, I mean, Okada's the guy known for saying bitch, except he didn't do the one thing that he's supposed to do this past Dynamite. You had one job, say the line, say it, and he just goes, trust me, like he's freaking Arnold Schwarzenegger or something. But yeah, Okada's going to win.
That reminded me of like when Riddle forgot his lines against Asuka on the scooter and it was just like, what fuck, whatever. And then Scooter.
How do you forget the one line you've been saying like 90% of the time for the last year or so?
Again.
Yeah, that is funny. I mean, dude does speak fluent Japanese, so we'll cut him a break, I suppose. Yeah. But what match do I have? Oh, of course. How could I forget this? The Owen Women's Final. Jamie Hayter versus Mercedes Moné. CEO. CEO. Do it, Partham. CEO. CEO. Okay, anyway.
Okay.
Women's Owen Final. Obviously, Mercedes holds all these belts except for one, the AEW World Women's Championship, held by none other than Timeless. We'll get to her in a minute. Timeless took that belt off of one Jamie Hayter. She's looking for redemption. Obviously, a world title shot from the winner of this match at All In. But I think we can see through the writing on the wall here. Jamie deserves this spot and she deserves to win. I'll start. She's just not going to. All roads have been leading for Mercedes versus Tony at All In for all the marbles. So I'll just leave it at that. Partham, it seems like you're on the same page.
Yeah, I have been on the same page for a while. Jamie Hayter should have an opportunity to wrestle for the women's world title. Jamie Hayter should have an opportunity to get built up and be a champion once again. She's just not going to. It's still Mercedes Moné's time. Whatever creative control she technically has or doesn't have or virtually has, whoever she has wrapped around her finger backstage and in creative or whatever, it's her time. She's basically going over. And she's got more. She's lost one belt, so she's got to collect another, in due time. So Mercedes is going to win.
I'm picking Mercedes because it's the biggest match they have in the women's division, so I think they just run it. And I think sometimes you just run the biggest match you have when you have it available. That is a headline worthy match. Mercedes, Tony, Jamie makes more sense storyline wise. The only thing I'm concerned about picking Mercedes is that Athena and Billy Starks have just completely disappeared from AEW television after being in a little mini, I wouldn't say a feud with Mercedes, but they were having quite a few interactions together that, Billy did have interactions even before the Athena match. So it's something to watch out for, something they could also even wait to play off until All In if they really wanted to bring it back around. So I think this makes sense. Mercedes, Tony coming out of this tonight, being on a poster for All In sounds like the move to me. So I'm going with the CEO as well.
I'll go. If I had my druthers, I would have Athena versus Mercedes for the TBS title, and I put Athena over, and I would put Jamie versus Tony with their past and their storylines that you could pull from, and have Jamie go over. But obviously, they're going to do what they want to do. Slick, what do you got?
I agree, Partham, and those two matches should damn near be taking place on this card rather than like feeding it through the Owen. I get that you want to keep tradition. It's a great tournament for a great cause, but still, those two matches and results sound a hell of a lot better than the way they're going about this. Still going to be good. We're all going to get the match we want. I mean, if you're a wrestling fan and you see Mercedes Moné versus Timeless Toni Storm in a baseball stadium for the AEW Women's World Championship, how can you not be hyped? That is like the women's match in wrestling right now. You could argue all you want for WWE. I really don't care. That is the primetime pay-per-view marquee matchup that all wrestling fans want to see on the women's side of ball. Speaking of the women's side of ball, we alluded to the Timeless one. She's defending her title against her former bestie's bestie, Mina Shirakawa. We want Mina. She's back in AEW. She's officially All Elite as well. And now she's got a title shot because she pinned Tony in a fatal 4-way title contender match. Didn't know those were things. So Mina immediately rising to the top of the ranks. Title shot. I want to say she's been in a similar spot before. Has she had a title shot in AEW?
Yeah, I think she had a match against
Mariah?
I think she had a match against Tony before already. For the title.
Maybe it was Tony, yeah. So similar spot, and very quickly here for Mina. We want Mina. Partham, do you want Mina to be your AEW Women's World Champion?
I think, wasn't it Mina that faced Mariah one-on-one? And now they're pulling from that trio of frenemies for this match. Okay, sure. Sure, I'd like to see Mina, built up over the next year and become the next AEW World Champion now that she's all elite. But obviously, it's all roads lead to Timeless versus Mercedes versus CEO at All In. So obviously, we got to have Timeless Toni Storm going over for the time being. Speaking of Mariah, if she's going to be all elite once again, this is basically the match to do it in. I don't know if they'll have something during the match or after the match, but she's going to make her presence known if she still wants to be all elite.
Yeah, where do you stand on that? Do you think she does?
You know what? Even me, keeping an eye on the dirt sheets and the rumors and et cetera, et cetera. You know what? It's honestly hard to say. It's been dead silence, which is probably a sign in and of itself, perhaps. Or maybe Mariah's just, laying low until contracts run out and she can jump ship. But
I'll tell you what, even though she's laying low, she is posting a lot of photos. And some of them have hints involved, I like to think, on both sides of the wrestling landscape, though. She's putting hints both ways. I think this is just a leveraging contract situation in her case. It could already be done. It could be nowhere close to none. I don't know, but I agree with you that tonight this is the match if you want to bring her back in due time. Jake, who do you got?
Now, you guys said everything I was going to say. This is if Mariah's coming back, it happens here. If it's not, they ran this match so early because they're like, she's not coming back, guys. Just adjust everything you think about the women's division going forward without her. I feel like that's kind of what this is. So it'll be interesting. For my purposes, I think that she is probably staying and comes back in this. I feel like placement and money are just too much and she's too young. If she wants to go to WWE, she can do it. She's 25. She can do it in 3 years and still be even a bigger star. So I think she comes back and gets involved in this match somehow, kicking off a Mina feud where they start going at it, and then Tony moves on to the Owen winner. So I'm picking Toni Storm.
Yeah, I think the AEW women's division will remain timeless. And I think Mariah does come back, to exactly your point, Jake. She's got time on her side. The money might not be there on the WWE side of things right now, but Tony's willing to offer it up. And if she does want to go back in 3 years, that might be to her benefit. I wouldn't rush out of Jacksonville right now to go wrestle Chelsea Green for the U.S. women's title, during the middle hour on a random Raw.
It's just extremely crowded in WWE all of a sudden too. So you have such a hierarchy. Does she get? I'm not even being I'm just being actually asking. Would she get higher placement than a Stephanie Vaquer, Roxanne Perez, or Julia at this point, or does she have to get in line behind them? That's a serious question she has to weigh if she's deciding this. And maybe she would get rocket ship it to the top of all of them. And if that's the guarantee, then hey, it's a tough deal to pass up too.
Which very interesting. She got rocket shipped to the top in AEW a little bit, just by being on Tony's side. So if the proof is in the pudding, why would you go elsewhere when that's uncertain, unless they've put it in verbal words that they're just going to shoot you right to the top right away? I couldn't see that happening. I mean, you even see Ricky Saints is over in NXT, and what the fuck is he doing? Not much.
He's fighting Ethan Page for the NXT North American Championship.
Oh, well, that looks familiar now, doesn't it? Well, anyway, I regress. Toni Storm going to retain her title, but we have arrived at the main event. All roads lead to this. The Owen Hart men's final. Will by God Ospreay versus Hangman Adam Page. This right choice making the main event? I think yes. Could have done the women's. I get Mina might not be the draw right away, so that's probably why they're differing. But I'm very glad Anarchy got the second place to this when it comes to main eventing. It makes it feel that much more important. And I think we can all agree there's a very good chance whoever wins this match could be the one to finally end this Death Riders saga. Hopefully. I mean, I hope anyone does it at this point. Partham, tell us who you got first. This is the definition of 50-50 in my eyes. I don't think the odds makers have it that way. I believe Will Ospreay is a heavy favorite, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Will Ospreay is the heavy favorite, and Will Ospreay should be the heavy favorite because all roads, for my vantage point, for Hangman are leading to the Young Bucks and a very odd couple tag team partnership with Swerve at All In. So, I mean, it's not that Hangman can't win this match. It's not that Hangman can't be someone the fans can get behind to take down Jon Moxley. He's got a lot of history with Jon Moxley. It would make a great storyline for him. Jon Moxley's been talking in these vague tones about, someone needs to step up, not just say they're a champion, but be a champion, et cetera, et cetera. And with all the internal conflict that Hangman's been going through in the last year or so, as he pretty much laid out on the previous Dynamite, it would almost be a perfect fit for him to, step up out of his dark shadows and be the one to step up and show Jon Moxley, that someone can be worthy of being a champion again. But he's got another set of problems that he's probably going to eventually have to deal with. So Will Ospreay looks like he's going to be the guy, at least for the time being. If nothing gets changed, on the fly, leading up to All In, he's going to be the guy that's, everybody's been saying for the last year or so, some people were saying that he was going to be the one to take the title off of Swerve. And he reportedly voluntarily stepped up to say, hey, I'll put Swerve over to help him, legitimize his title reign. So people have been calling for Will Ospreay to basically be the face of the company and the champion, the title holder for many months, if not over a year now. So I think it should be finally time to do that. So Will Ospreay is going to be the one facing Jon Moxley, at least as far as we know, by winning this match and beating Hangman Adam Page.
I've struggled with this one a lot, and I think that's what they wanted you to do. So the favorite, Hangman is only a plus 350 underdog, which is still a heavy favorite in general betting terms. But in terms of wrestling betting and to this card, this is the closest odds on the Double or Nothing card that are available.
Wow.
So this is as close to a 50-50 as we can get. But I agree with you, Partham. Ospreay should be the favorite here because the cleaner, for me, it's just. When I've been really thinking about this, like I said, I've been struggling with this match, really thinking about what the ways to go. And it's the same thing as you. Like, what are the paths after this towards All In? And for Ospreay, if he loses, I don't know what it is. There's not really a clean thing for him to jump back into. You like the Callis family thing, and he's Kyle Fletcher like 4 or 5 times already. Like, we don't need to revisit that. It would have to be something completely brand new. When Hangman, like you're saying, if he loses, there's a pivot that they can get to for another big match. And that's kind of, guys, why I brought up the Kenny and Swerve thing to him, like being a friend. I think Hangman's going to be a world champion again, probably by next year. I think they're kind of foreshadowing that he will be world champion again. But I think that with Hangman right now, he's still in the middle of this redemption story. Like he hasn't let anybody be his friend yet. Like, he needs to let himself have friends again. He needs to be back. Like, for him, when he's going to win the world title, it's going to be when Hangman is fully Hangman again. Not this, like, he's not like as depressed. He's getting there. Like, you see signs of him getting back to his old self, but him being desperate, being like, I need this for that's not a place that he should win, in my opinion. From following the Hangman character, is not a place that he should win world championship. It should be one more notch, and then he doesn't drag himself out of this depths. Having friends has him out of it. Kenny extending a hand and being like, I'll help you, bro. Or Swerve, the most unlikely ally, extending a hand like you're talking about, and to take on the Young Bucks and being like, bro, listen, I know we've had this, but let's put it aside. If that purifies Hangman in the simplest terms, I think that's where we're heading here. So as I'm going to be cheering for Hangman when I watch this. The heart wants Hangman just because I love to see Hangman get this done, and would cheer hard as hell for him at All In. But it feels like it's an Ospreay time to head into that All In main event, and then with especially Forbidden Door in the O2 on the other side, just teasing that in front of the fans makes it a very tantalizing main event for it. So begrudgingly, I'm picking Will Ospreay.
Yeah, same boat for me. I have to pick against Hangman just because of the tease. The O2, you obviously want Will Ospreay as your champion going into that. And then, too, the looming possible link up with Swerve and team against the Young Bucks. 2 things that have just been alluded to too much for me to ignore. But I do feel like, in a way, it's Hangman is being not buried, but sent down a rabbit hole of losses that he just shouldn't be taking when he's always so close but so far to the title that he once had. It's almost diminishing how badass he looked as a champion the first time to me, how much he's struggling to get back to the spot, because it really shouldn't be that much of a struggle. I agree with you, Jake. I was muted when you were saying it, but I said, yeah, he needs to be champion again in less than a year. Like, Hangman itself, the character, needs to be the world champion again, not for the reasons he's saying. I'm saying for the sake of AEW. Hangman Page needs to hold that title again in the very near future, but it's not going to be at All In because Ospreay is going to take this one. Match of the night potential, obviously. That's why they put it in as the main event. So really excited for this. This is like a dream match. A lot of us couldn't have predicted a long time ago, but winner of this goes on to face presumably Jon Moxley at All In Texas, unless something drastic happens or Moxley dies.
Yeah, I mean, let's just remember how Moxley's reign started. He finagled himself into a title shot by basically goading Darby Allin into giving up his, or at least putting his on the line in a match. So could we see a bookend where Darby goads Jon Moxley into either giving him the title match if Ospreay, says, I'm not waiting for All In, bruv, or something like that. And then Darby comes along and says, hey, you owe me, thank you. You owe me one for, basically giving you your world title reign here. You owe me a return match or something like that.
I think that's a good point because I completely forgot that was the stipulation, and it's crazy I did because of how stupid that really was on Darby's part. But everyone knew he was going to climb the mountain, so when you read behind the story, it made sense. I don't think we see Darby tonight. It just seems a bit soon after you climb the highest mountain on planet Earth to be like back on a
You
stage.
think there may be
all
a
those-
week or two recovery time after you get out of Nepal or
I
wherever.
think so, and I think they're gonna like try and give you a little cliffhanger. The fans know he just
No pun intended.
Yeah, glad he's not actually on a cliffhanger, but the fans all know he just went and did it. So I think you gotta extend it, build the mystery a little bit as to when he's coming back. Maybe like some teasers, some vignettes or something. I don't know. They could do it.
Yeah. Do that. Return to Papa Dynamite. I would say. Don't have too many turns tonight.
For sure.
You could have 5 guys return tonight if you wanted.
Yeah,
It's
literally.
true.
Have Darby's music open a Dynamite. I think that would be a great way to not only get him right into the title picture and run towards it, but just to have him back on AEW programming, that would be a huge pop. Everyone loves Darby. Well,
Yeah.
not everyone.
Yeah. Well,
Before we get out of here, we didn't touch on Saturday night's main event too much.
Let's do it.
Some main points to just quickly go over. Bronson Reed, he's the third man. We had John Cena facing almost a mirror image in Ron Cena, doing all the classic Cena, entrance, hype stuff, running down to the ring and doing the threes and all that stuff. Drew McIntyre, got pretty much concertoed out of the action for the time being. He's gotten beat up behind the scenes in real life, and he's going to be. Yes.
Do you think Jesse Ventura just didn't know that you could walk out of a cage door and he was just confused?
Somebody had a clip of Jesse Ventura saying, why in another cage match, way back in the day, why doesn't he just walk out the door? Oh my goodness. Jesse just wants to stir. Jesse Ventura just wants to stir it up. He just wants to, troll people just to troll people. You can make the point either way, but he's just taking the opposite of whatever the babyface is doing. Maybe that's classic Jesse Ventura, and we are not as well versed on that, or it's been a bygone age that we've forgotten. And the other one, of course, the big one was Jay going over Logan because John Cena did get himself involved as he was alluding to Jay in the back, that he actually wanted to further ruin wrestling, not just with the WWE title, but by helping the World Heavyweight Championship go over on a YouTuber, so to speak. And then Cody makes his triumphant return, and now we've got a tag match set up for Money in the Bank, Cena and Logan versus Cody and Jay. But the rumor is that tag match just might be supplemented by a couple other certain celebrities. But not only Travis Scott, but a certain Puerto Rican who's known for his wrestling prowess, Bad Bunny.
Yeah,
that would be lovely.
Money in the Bank is in Los Angeles, city of stars, city of angels. A lot of them will come out for that, and there could be some in the ring. So,
I have a question for you, Partho. That's the one thing I wanted to bring up with this here because this is right up your purview here. With Cody aligning with Jay, does that now put him in the orbit of the newly added in Bronson Reed, Seth Rollins, Braun Breaker faction because of their issues with Jey Uso? And since we can assume leading up to Money in the Bank that Cody will be on Raw, considering that Jay's on Raw, I'm sure we'll have some sort of interaction between them and Logan Paul on the program, that maybe Seth Rollins comes out and says something to Cody Rhodes and we can get some just, I don't know if it's movement towards a feud, but just a refresh of two characters meeting again in much different forms than they were the last time they talked.
Oh, they're going to cross paths, absolutely. In fact, it might be a little too far out to start the wheels turning too much, but I think we're looking at the beginnings, the parts of a men's War Games match.
I like that. I don't think that's too far at all. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Does indeed make sense. What makes sense is wrestling's hot. It's hotter than it's ever been. There's competition tonight, and we will be watching. Folks, thank you for tuning in along with us for this hour of your long weekend. Obviously, Memorial Day tomorrow. Enjoy it with some family, and take a moment to remember those that have served for this great country that we all reside. Any shout-outs, sign-offs before we go, guys?
Shout out to both these wrestling companies for putting on shows every single night over Memorial Day weekend here. It's been a hell of a time. We're only halfway through. I just saw the Raw card for tomorrow night. Some pretty fun matches there. Triple threat tag match for the tag titles, New Day War Raiders and the Creeds. Seth Rollins, Finn Balor, Sami Zayn in a triple threat qualifier for the Money in the Bank. So those are pretty exciting things coming up tomorrow night after a incredible night of Double or Nothing and Battleground tonight. So yeah, thankful for all the wrestling.
I will shout out not only our 3-time champion Buffalo Bandits, but shout out to my hometown Rochester Amherst. They have a decisive Game 5 in just a few hours, going for the Call to Come playoffs.
Let's go, Rochester Amherst. A shout out to the Buffalo Bandits, 3-peat champions. Shout out to Handsome Grim for passing their board exam. That's where I'm going to leave us off with. Shout out to you. That is indeed too sweet. And another thing that's too sweet is this show, because we don't just wrestle with our conscience. We don't just wrestle with our budget. This has been Wrestling with Emotion. Yeet.
Yeet.